Push to talk.
We are live. And Grumpo's in
All
the room.
right. And hello. Hey everybody, thanks for coming today to this creative Q&A. So I'm Grumpo Corgo, and we're gonna look at a little bit further into the future than we usually do in one of these. We're gonna kind of look into the medium-term future for this Q&A. We're gonna talk about some stuff that is shipped recently, and then look ahead at some of our future plans, and just kind of talk about them. We'll go through sort of one by one, but let me fire up this big screen behind me here. So, yeah, so here are some things that we've done recently. So you can look at these white boxes, and these are things that have just shipped. And you can kind of see what's next on the horizon here. So, we want to bring the Rec Room vehicle chassis out of beta so that, more rooms can use it, and it can be used in more inventions and such. We have a big thing coming up with improving the net heat right there. So we really want to give y'all tons more net, essentially. We have some cool stuff going on with Doors V2, CV2 combat improvements. Something that we talk a lot about is object models. So we're doing a ton of work there to allow for hierarchical building and getting circuits in objects. So you can kind of have objects that are just as cool and powerful as a room in some ways. And then once we do all that work, we'll let you spawn those objects. And kind of here on the right side, and these things are happening simultaneously, we also want to ship Sampler V2 fairly soon, as well as some circuit error visualizations. We know it's really tough when you have a really complex room. There's a bunch of circuits in there. You get an error, you gotta kind of hunt it down, and we want to make that a lot easier. We also have some work that we're going to be doing with prompt-based interactions, so just making it a little bit easier to make cool interactions for your players. And also state machines, and then functions and properties, which are essentially related to a bunch of circuits improvements and kind of tied in with object model as well. So let's kind of zoom in a little bit, and we'll talk about some of the things here at the top. We probably don't have time to talk about this whole list. We might honestly show it again at the next Q&A and kind of where we've made progress on stuff, but let's zoom in a little bit. So trigger handles came out pretty recently, and it'd be great to talk about that a little bit. Guy, do you want to talk about like some of the kind of cool things that have happened with trigger handles and just questions that the crowd has on them?
Yeah, for sure. For anyone who doesn't know, we released the trigger handle, which lets any platform pick up this prop effectively, and you can use the trigger on your platform to send a CV2 signal. We've been seeing some really cool stuff out of that. And we got more ideas on how we could expand that idea in the future. But if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
All right. If you are active in the CV2 chat, you will pretty much already know this, but everybody really wants some sort of dynamic output where, if you've got the trigger half pulled, it'll give you like an output of, say, 0.5. Is that something that is even possible, something that's planned, or what's the story with that?
It's not something we're looking at currently. Reasoning behind that is there's platforms that don't have that analog input, and if you built something based on that analog input, those platforms wouldn't be able to participate or use it properly. So we're not looking at doing that right now.
Yeah, Raya, you can come up to the when talking, just come up to the stage.
Sure.
Yeah,
you guys are welcome to kind of stand in front of the screen.
One update I will give, actually, I've been working with a person much like me in the company who's been working on a prototype to make the stabilization on screens much better. So we have a thing we're planning on shipping soon that when you're on screens, if you're jumping around or moving pretty drastically, it'll still aim the trigger handle at the crosshair. I know there's been some people who've brought up that it's less stable on screens, but I think we have a really nice fix for that coming out to people soon. Anyone else have any other questions on Alexa? See, Alexa's got one.
Hello. I came from a car to here very fast. I wanted to ask, are we gonna get any other buttons other than a trigger? Like maybe the thumbstick button, the jump button, would be able to change it using the trigger handle. I think that could really open up to really cool possibilities, making a selection screen using the thumbstick's movement instead of just having to point at it.
Yeah, that's a great question. We're still talking about that stuff. We do want to expand on the foundation we're trying to lay with the trigger handle. We've talked about other handles we could add, like the like a gun handle that could expose like a reload action effectively. But yeah, we're still talking about like what other kinds of inputs we could expose. We're unsure yet what we could expose currently though.
Okay.
But yeah, we're still close there. That's a great question.
I do wish that if you do have the trigger handles, you're not just gonna have like 7 different types as a prop. It would be really cool to just have all of them as a one object and to just configure them to needs.
Why would you prefer that? Just curious.
So I won't be very bloated in my palette. I have 7 different types of handles that basically do the same thing with just one little. Like it takes the example as the addition chip in CV1. They can just configure it as like a minus, as multiply. You can't do that with CV2. Every chip is separate. I do see that it makes the searching and the page itself very it makes it a lot more harder to find stuff. And I do think that it would be that all of these would be labeled as one just trigger handle instead of just trigger handle type gun, trigger handle type reload, like stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah, I see what you mean. I think there's a couple problems going on here. I think we do need to make the palette like easier to navigate with tons of stuff in it. I think that's just a given. But yeah, we're still exploring the ideas for multiple handles, so I'll keep that in mind. That's great feedback. Thank you.
No problem.
Awesome. Does anyone have any more trigger handle questions? So, sorry, right? Yeah.
No, I was just going to say happy to move on if there's no more questions on this.
All right, let's move on and talk about our net heat improvements. So, Tyleo, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I can talk about that. So in the coming weeks, we will be increasing the net heat limit based on the max you set for your subroom. So 1 through 12 players, we are hoping, we're not guaranteed, to get a 3x increase. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you go stand by Grumpo?
Over here? Yeah. Should I start over?
No, you're good.
Okay, I'll pedal back a little bit. So subrooms with a max of 1 through 12 players should get roughly a 3x increase. So you'd have 15 PCs, 3 kilobytes of data. 13 through 24 players, which includes the default setting for the maker room, will get a 2x increase. That'll be 10 RPCs and 2 kilobytes of data. And then 25 plus, you will not get an increase. So those higher amounts of players in rooms will be the same as they are right now. We found that we already have a few networking issues in those rooms, even if you didn't use CV2. If you've ever been in a 40-player room, you might have experienced some disconnects. We're not going to touch it. The way these are going to roll out, we're going to ship an update that lets us configure the values from our server. We are not sure we could do the 3x increase. We're going to try, and then we're going to look. We've got a bunch of charts that show us how much players are disconnecting, and we're going to look and see if players are disconnecting. If they aren't, we're going to keep the 3x increase. Same thing with the 2x. And if it goes especially well, we might be able to give more than a 3x or 2x, but I don't want to promise that right now. So look forward to that in the future. Does anybody have any questions?
How about Zombie Stone? Oh, sorry.
Actually, have a question. So, do you think that increasing the net and making it where like people can have like more heat and like more data would cause like more issues to the people's rooms? Because if you have like a lot of CV2 chips and a lot of like heat being produced, I mean probably a lot of you would know that it can cause some people, especially in almost to max rooms, to like crash. Do you think that would actually affect like the crashing bug issue like a bit more, or like once you like increase the heat limit?
So there's a couple things I want to say. If you find crashes when using circuits to its limits, I'd love to hear about them. You could post about them in Discord or Reddit, or I think Hacks is where we normally record bugs. I don't think net specifically will cause crashes. It might cause disconnects, and that's what we're going to be watching. We have some charts that tell us about that. I think it would probably be the chip limit or the CPU that's causing crashes.
And I also have a question kind of related to max rooms. I don't think if it's like actually related, but it's kind of important. So the technology you guys use for retcon, so that way like more people can join the events, is there any way that you can use that technology excuse me, my phone, use that technology for people to have like larger events, or like rooms that have like almost limitless amounts of people can like join, like possibly thousands of people can join a single event?
I've got a quick question for you. Did you attend retcon?
No, sadly I was banned during the whole event.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
well,
I was on vacation.
For people who attended retcon, they may know that we had to move some events around. So that technology is in a very beta state where it works for internal employees, and it sort of practically brings down the server, which is why we had some issues. We're working on it though. We're working on getting it better. That is not, our team isn't doing it, so we could get in touch with the team that does. I'm sure they'd like to make it available for players, but I don't have any timeline.
All right.
Any other questions?
Okay. Any other questions? Alexa, looks like you got another one.
Oh, there you go. I had to turn off my mic because my dogs could be heard. I wanted to ask if that change would be like that change of heat would increase dynamically. Like the more, like if I set the room to 50 players and only one person joins, what amount of heat would I get? Would I get like the highest amount that applies to like low rooms, or is it statically just going to be less heat by default?
It is statically based on the number of players in the room. So in the subroom settings, there's a page that lets you configure max players. That is the page that is going to change the heat amount. And the reason it's like that is because we don't want you to test your room and have it work with 5 people, but then like 10 people join and the room all breaks.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
All right, cool. Let's go in and talk about some of the CV2 combat improvements we're looking at, and this is going to be a good one to kind of talk about where there might be gaps in what y'all want to do with CV2 combat. Foodbat, take it away.
Hello, just making sure y'all can hear me.
Oh.
Sound good?
Can you hear me all right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Hi. So when you see CV2 combat on the calendar, it probably sounds like pretty big. The modest goal is basically that as creators, you'll be able to recreate paintball without any tendrils into CV1. So, we've broken it down to a few CV2 chips that can get you across a line. It's definitely not like the easiest thing to accomplish, but it's about increasing the possibility space of what you can do in CV2 and PvP. So in this case, it's something as obvious but harder to implement of like a projectile hit event on the player board, or to equip or unequip weapons to people. So, for anybody here who's made PvP in CV2 or tried to, I'm very interested to know like what walls you run into in that process.
On dog.
Cool, yeah, I'd like to comment on it. So when I'm using, first off, the combatant chips are obviously, they're beta chips, they're unstable most of the time. But a lot of the times when I'm trying to do something with the combatant chips, like let's say with the new raycast that came out with the handles, I'll run into a lot of like scenarios where like, well, okay, I know I hit him in the body or I hit him in the hand, but you can't like change up the damage types based on that. So like where you're hit, you can do it based on like the distance from like the head, but that still doesn't change from any of here. Other things, I know that the handles are still a little unstable, especially when you pair it with the combatant chips. Like I ran into this issue where there was the authority player that could only do damage for some reason. So it wasn't feasible to actually make a weapon out of it. But that's all I got for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious as to the problem there. Yeah, I'd be curious to know how you implemented damage in that system.
Yeah, I could explain it real quick. If that's all right.
Yeah, just
it's
real
not too
quick.
long. Yeah. Okay. Pretty much it just activates because there are some localization issues with the trigger handle held down. I just made a toggle event when you press the trigger and let go to apply damage and not apply damage. Raycast just gets the player and then it applies 5 damage, and that's it. And it wouldn't work because you were an authority, or it wouldn't work. I'm good now.
All right. Yeah, that's good information. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Yost again.
All right, sweet. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Good. All right, perfect. So, one of my older projects, Meme Cart PvP, it was built in CV1, entirely CV1, before CV2 even existed. And there were a lot of workarounds that I had to employ to actually get the room to run. Because I wanted the room to sort of be, a massive map, and 40 people can join, a bunch of, weapons and stuff. Now, one thing that I ran into is that with the game chip, you know how you can have weapons dynamically spawn in and despawn, and they don't have to be saved in the room. That's one thing that I would really love to have. Another thing would be, when you spawn a player, this was a CV1 issue where if you respawn them, no matter what, they'd be forced to pick up a new gun, and it would be a really inefficient way of doing things. So yeah, those are the two sort of problems that I think with CV2 can be solved. It's especially, having weapons sort of be loaded in as people joined and, disappear as people left or they drop their guns,
All right, that's really good feedback. You getting all this? Getting this all, Bryhoff?
Yes.
Wonderful. All right, thank you so much.
Okay. Anyone else? Harrison.
So, what's the mic? On CV1, we were able to like set different teams and how big they could be. There's a problem there when we wanted to have the teams have a different amount of players, like, one player on a red team and 5 on blue or whatever. And whenever we get to that stage with CV2, I like that to be able to happen because it's very annoying to have to manage teams like that on CV1.
Okay. Have you tried? Because my instinct would be to represent teams as roles, in at least the way it stands right now. Is that not possible? Or have you not tried that yet?
I haven't tried too much PvP with CV2 yet, but
well, it's really hard to do, which is why I'm talking about it.
Yeah. I feel like a team-based chip would be way better than trying to use roles for that.
Yeah, I think that in the future, teams have to be looked at completely as a separate system. I think for a more short-term CV2 compatible, it will basically, you probably have to still use roles in that case, but teams need a revamp completely and exposure to CV2, and I agree with that.
Yeah. Alright, that's what I'm mentioning.
right. Thanks, Harrison. Any more questions? Val? I think, Val, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I got one. So with the cloud v2 or the cloud variables, it's a bit, I like where it's at, but there's a lot more we can do if we can sync it to everybody. Because right now, it's limited to just that instance, that player. If you could be able to sync that across all players, so no matter what instance they're in, and it can affect future instances. Say somebody buys a plot of land in one instance, you want that to instantly update in all other current instances and all future instances until it gets changed. You can do better leaderboards that way where they constantly update no matter.
Yeah, Val, that is an awesome idea. I think we might have missed the end of your sentence there, though.
Oh, just having it. You can use it for claiming plots of land, and then everybody being able to see that be updated across all instances, and having leaderboards that constantly update.
Yeah, so we kind of think about this in three different parts. So, the cloud variables are really related to the players, and then we have leaderboards, and we just came out with Leaderboards v2 that kind of, I think if you mix those two things together, you can start to get a little bit of what you're going after. But later on, and it's not on this chart here, we have something that we will think about, like room persistence. This obviously has some like pretty major implications that will require a lot of design thinking and engineering to ship well. So it's going to happen later on, but it is on our future roadmap. Just don't expect it super soon. So if you are looking to do that stuff, I would recommend combining cloud variables in the leaderboard a little bit to kind of get what you're after.
Okay, also one other quick question about like player UI being able to adjust what they see. I've messed around a lot with my friends with making big command systems with the prompt chip, but it's very limited. You can have only a certain size text, limited amount of text you can put on, and you can't put in any images. With, however, like the currencies, you could have nice pages with a lot of text and an image. Is there a way where we can get more customizable screens that we can prompt players with that have different images you could put up, different text, and still be able to like type in them and interact?
That is another great question. So we also have that on a longer plan. How we implement that, though, we don't know yet. So, we might do something that makes the current system, it gives you a few more things to do and we can grow from, or potentially we will add a whole new system. But those, we want to do it right. And so it's not in our super near-term future, which is what you're looking at today. But we do promise that we care about that a ton, and we think that it'll enable really cool things.
Okay, great.
Cool. Why don't we check Trunks? Is there any questions coming from YouTube at all?
Yeah, we got a handful of questions here from the stream.
Yep. Trunks, can you come to the center of the stage?
There we are. Okay, everyone. So from the stream, we've got a couple questions. Fading Light RR asked, when are we going to get a CV2 animation gizmo?
Ooh, I can answer that too. So that one is medium term. So we're going to get through these things first, and then the space will be open to do something like that.
Awesome. Okay. King J-Dog asked, when could we have, or if possible to have scalable players, full body, not like cell scaling, so that we could utilize them in games?
That is a great question. We do not have that on the roadmap right now. We know it's something that's really cool and something that could happen potentially with costumes. I'm not sure yet, but we'll kind of see if that can end up sooner rather than later.
Awesome. He goes on further to say, could we possibly have more options in the emitters, like arrows and fireballs from the AI, and perhaps the ability to add our own particles? Custom.
Yes, absolutely. We want to do a better kind of V2 of the emitter, or maybe perhaps it's V2.5. So that is, again, on our roadmap after these kind of near-term things.
Awesome. And one last question from Squiddy VR. They ask, when will we be able to use the broadcast system for our big creative events?
Oh gosh, I wish I had a date for you. It's an amazing system, but for us, it is definitely in beta and has a lot of technical requirements. Our team, the UGC team, doesn't actually own that system, but we do want to collect more information about how you want to use it, things you want to do with it. In fact, we would love to use it for something like the creative Q&A when it's ready. So I don't have a date for y'all, but we think it's an incredibly powerful system, and we are working to get it out to you guys.
Great. Thank you so much for all those answers. That's all the questions for now.
Right. Luke Fox. Let me see if I can...
Question. Any...
Oh.
Can
Sorry.
you hear me? Yeah? No,
Yeah.
good? Can we get any updates on briefing / rolling CB2 features to
I
fight
think
against them?
that is in Foodbag's wheelhouse.
Hey, I'm back. So
Welcome back.
yeah, so this is an interesting project because when I started at the company, this is something I was tasked to think about, and one of the solutions was come up with CV2 building blocks that would enable creators to create anti-grease systems. Now I know that it's possible, and I know that some really, really, really smart people are accomplishing it. But the thing is that you have to be really advanced to pull it off, understand every weird permutation and exploit when it comes to trigger volumes or invisible collisions. So right now what I'm working on, and I imagine this, it'll be out relatively soon. I would predict, at the absolute worst case by the end of the year, but definitely I predict sooner than that, is the idea of just being able to put a roll filter on a thing like a canvas, and peripherals such as like markers just won't work on it if the player holding it doesn't have that roll. So if you have basic knowledge of CV2 and how to use rolls, you should be able to control griefing on things such as that.
That's good to hear. Thank you.
I'm not sure if it's the best solution that you would have wanted, but I think
at least it's better than nothing,
Yeah, I think this is the path of least resistance, something we can get out and quickly and make sure that it just becomes easier for creators to have this kind of control in their rooms.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Method Master, you've been very patient having your hand up, so what's up?
Okay, so I saw that you had Sampler V2 on the board, and it kind of got that creativity part of my mind thinking. So what if I have a mic that picks up stuff in the background? So what if you whenever I close a sampler, you can hear my mouse click. So what if you made it that you could edit it with two markers, and whatever's in between them, you edit out. You can undo it and redo it.
That's a cool idea. Oddzilla is probably the best person to talk to about that. Uh-oh, Oddzilla, we got noise coming from your mic, unfortunately.
I can't hear you.
Uh-oh. Okay, I will answer some sampler things.
That sounded like a...
yeah, in the
meantime...
go for it.
Before you take the mic off me. Another thing is, what if you could also edit the time of the thing? So maybe if you knew how long it's gonna take you to say something, you could go in before you record it and press configure and maybe make the time 2 seconds or something.
Yeah,
or
that's a cool idea.
Something with that.
Yeah, Jay had a good suggestion there. I think that what we are probably looking at is...
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot then.
Well, yeah, no worries. We have some of this functionality already, but what we want to do a little bit more is do this process of separating out the media that we're going to use and layer. So we're kind of looking at basically letting you play back content with something like a player, but content will be its own stored data somewhere. And with that, that kind of lets you separate out the content a little bit more, edit the content however you see fit, and play it back. We probably have separate work to do for the player and the content. Whoa, I just heard a crazy sound explosion.
Yeah, and I didn't mean anything too crazy. I was just thinking maybe so you can like have two markers. Like, have you ever seen like a audio editing thing where it's like there's two markers in the end, whatever's in between them is like lighted up a little more than the rest or something? Like maybe we'll move that around so you don't only have to edit the start and the end.
Yeah, I think that things like that are great. Although, again, I think you should be able to kind of accomplish that already today.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any more questions?
You've had your hand up for a while too. Alexa, again. Another question?
So I want to expand on sampler surround sound support. Like most platforms except like Quest and Android, but if we had surround, like people could connect their surround receivers or surround headphones, and I would be able to have like 10 samplers around the player and play from all different around. That would be so immersive. I really like to
that's
have...
interesting. So I would say that that's probably not really a UGC tool. That's probably more something that we talk with the platform team about in our, the overall app, basically. Because ideally we wouldn't be, we have this principle in Rec Room with UGC, which is start physical. So like if you want to have surround sound, you would just be spatially placing sounds in your room, like your room is a real place. And so if you are looking to get more spatial audio going on, hopefully we would be doing that at the top Rec Room level rather than specific creator related thing.
Then let me go to the physical round. What is the expected sample rate like for the sampler V2?
I actually don't know the technical details at that level. We're
okay.
We're still using Unity to do this stuff, so it will be something in the realm of what is capable in our game engine.
Okay. Is it going to be more than 30 seconds of recording?
Sorry, I just got back some feedback there. Sorry, were you asking the length of how long you can sample, or like literally the bit rate and like hertz and all that stuff?
I asked that earlier, but you said it's technical, so now I'm asking like the length.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I just want to make sure I was totally understanding.
Okay.
I do not know if we are planning on changing recording time. I think that if Odzilla's mic is working, that she might be able to answer.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So it sounds like there is some possibility once we start getting a sampler V2 to allow for longer recording, or at the very least, like better tools to chain recording.
Okay. And can I go back to the combats in CVT if that's alright?
Oh, absolutely.
So something that was proposed here, you talked about having roles as a way of teaming. Now, I thought a way better using lists, but the only problem we have with that is lists are not synced. Is there still a technical reason like why lists cannot be synced? And, like that would be a really useful way of just having a team, being able to select one and and just it would like I messed around with team mapping chips back in the day with CV1, and I got so much pain from it that I just didn't want to go back to it. So I really hope like synced lists would be the ultimate solution for picking people from teams.
Tyleo, do you have an opinion on synced lists?
Yeah, we were going to look at synced lists pretty soon, actually. Next few months, maybe.
All right, cool. All right, Boutini. Sorry, I didn't mean to take the question answering choice away from you. So please take it away.
All right, Andy. I know we've seen you have had your hand up for a while. So,
all right. So I've addressed this in the feedback Discord before, but I haven't really made a big deal of it. But since I'm here, I'm going to mention it. Roblox has an option on their website to where you can upload audio files immediately, and they automatically detect anything that's explicit, and they can instantly cancel that from being uploadable. And I know that the Roblox uploading thing is an issue. They've been through many lawsuits for their like compatibility with all their different soundtracks and whatnot. But Roblox has won every battle with any lawsuit that they've had regarding their copyright and audio, and I think that it's like worth too for the team to see what Roblox is doing, because Roblox is clearly able to make it work legally, and they're able to make it to where people can upload periods of audio. And if we could do that through RecNet and then upload it through the Sampler V2, I think that that would be a revolutionary technology that would make scores, original soundtracks, sound design, all kinds of things easier for people who are heavy on audio. Because I personally am a sound designer, and I do all kinds of things that require a lot of technical work, and it's really, really hard to work around with the limited capabilities of samplers. And even with what CV2 has, or what the Sampler 2 has to offer, there's still a lot of limitations that can't be matched without being able to directly upload audio.
Andy, could you talk through a couple more of those? Like, so is one of the issues that you're basically having to pipe your, your audio source through the mic channel? Is that like what's the biggest pain point that you're experiencing right now?
Right. It's so extremely tedious, not only to have to upload it 30 seconds at a time, but also to have to route my audio through my microphone. Because as a PlayStation user once before, that's my original platform that I used as a beginning creator, it was a pain to be able to get audio because I had to go hire somebody that had a PC. I had to get them to do all the stuff to be able to route the. It was a huge pain, and I think that it would be a lot easier to be able to directly upload to RecNet, and then you could instantly send that information to Rec Room through the cloud that's already connected to Rec Room. Because I'm aware that like the share feature with your camera is already instantly connected to Rec Room from the game to the website. So if you could reverse that and make it from the website to the game and make a cloud that has a list, and you could just select whatever audio you've uploaded. That's seen in Roblox in many games. Bloxburg is an amazing example if you want to just see that. If you don't know about the Roblox audio library, I would highly suggest you look into it because it's very intuitive. It's a great way to understand how you can implement third-party audio into a game that can be used by other players. You can also copyright your own music in Roblox. That's possible. Like they have a great legal system that allows people to be able to upload original content, copyrighted content, and content that was distributed from third parties and manage it without any issues. The biggest thing I would say about being able to implement audio currently is let's just make it easier for everybody, because everybody's always complaining about how PCs can run better and PCs look better and like maybe an index looks better than a PSVR, and that's limitations that you had to buy, and a limitation that you buy as a PC or a PSVR user is you can't have the luxury of being able to upload audio directly through your microphone, and that's not fair. Just like not being able to have the nicer quality of a VR or being able to play at a higher frame rate like other players, it's just something you had to like pay for. And I think that it would be a lot more fair if everybody had the same capabilities, because you can upload audio files through your iPhone, through Android, through your PC, through your laptop, anything. Upgrade, or you can upload any audio that you need directly to the website in single format, MP3, WAV, I don't care. I think it would be great to have the option to upload files directly to RecNet and then install them into Rec Room and just have them accessible for everybody.
Cool. Hey, thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, that's something we'll think about. That is a super interesting idea to make better use of RecNet and kind of have a little bit more parity between platforms.
Okay. Anybody else? I'm trying to see. Is there anybody else who hasn't? Notorious. Do you have I think you got your hand up. Right. Oh wait, sorry.
So
there you go.
Is that me? Am I good? Awesome. Well, hopefully
Yeah.
I'm not skipping too far ahead, but I'm looking at Dole's version 2, and that's the only really thing that I'm familiar with when it comes to Circuits version 2. I'm not really a big Circuit guy. But with Circuits version 2, like, what are you guys kind of like planning on doing with Circuits version 2? Because in my opinion, I think the Doles are, I mean, maybe people will have different opinions, but I think they are like really good, like the way they are. The fact that you can take it away, so like it feels more immersive to walk in a volume to go into the next room. So I'm just wondering, what is your plan for Doles? And then if it's okay, if I can ask another question after that.
Yeah, I can probably answer this.
Hello again. So I inherited the doors project from another designer, so
Okay.
I'm not 100% up to date on all the plans that were there, but the basic idea of delivering a doors v2 is that it will come with a control channel in which you can send players to rooms, you can set whether or not it's locked, and you can set what room it goes to dynamically through CV2. In terms of, so you were wondering about visuals, right? Or
Yeah, I mean, no, I was just kind of worrying about what you guys are doing. Because, like I said, like, kind of in like my opinion, like I think the doors are like fine. Like the stuff where you can do with CV1 doors are quite good. So hence why I'm just wondering, like, what is your upgrade? Like, what if you could explain like the difference between the version 1 and 2, if you can, then that's what I'm really asking.
Okay, yeah. So the basic idea is that now it has a CV2 control panel so that you could change some things dynamically through circuit. So that would be such as you could just send somebody to another room, feeding it into the inputs. You could set whether or not it's locked or unlocked through CV2, and you can also change the room that it goes to in real time. So you could say like somebody goes through this door, and then it's like the next person to go through the door actually goes to a different place. So you know, it's just a little more flexibility. But the main thing is that it's in CV2.
Okay, and if I could ask one more question, that's what I like to hear. Just looking at our vehicles, I'm just wondering. It says coming out of beta, so I'm just wondering what is your goals from what you already have in beta, and what's your plans when it comes out of beta? Yeah, similar question to the doors, but it's kind of what's your outcome when it comes to the vehicle, if you can answer that.
Yeah, and so I can answer this a little bit, although our vehicles are mostly owned by our RO experience team. But, you know, with the vehicles and all of our different UGC systems, they just kind of run into some problems where they break, and not every single edge case is accounted for. You know, if the vehicle interacts with a certain weird volume or a weird way that we're dealing with, attaching stuff to it, we just want to make sure that that's a little bit more robust and isn't going to cause broken situations. We also have some kind of additional plans for vehicles, and probably when we get to object model, some rethinking of how you might compartmentalize some of the components that build a vehicle. But we would like to get them kind of as they're now out of beta, just so you can start seeing really cool inventions used.
Yeah,
it's mostly bug fixing though.
Yeah, because another thing, well, not really like another thing, what I was going to say, because what I was hoping for, that me and my friend Triple here made a Rocket League map, and it failed, but our main complaint that we tried to fix, because we thought it was our fault, but it turns out it's just a bug, and I've found it in while playing Wreck Valley sometimes, that the vehicle doesn't actually move. I'm just kind of staying in the vehicle and it's not allowing me to move. So hence why I'm kind of asking, like, once it's out of beta, obviously the bugs will be fixed. But I'm kind of glad that I'm hearing that you guys obviously once it's coming out of beta, everything will be fine. So I'll quickly mention that, since you mentioned bugs, that sometimes you can move and sometimes you can't.
Cool. Yeah, that again, just leaning into what you said there, we want to fix the bugs with the vehicle and its UGC relationship, and we'll ship kind of like as that, and then later on we'll do more cool vehicle stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Bear to bear. Oh, sorry, trying to.
So
there we go.
Can you hear me?
You sound good.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. All right. So my mic may be a bit chubby right now, but I know Leaderboards V2 are listed up there. But so what you've added is like chips, CV2 chips, to make Leaderboards work with CV2. But my question is, will there be any updates to add more stats to Leaderboards? Because I've seen Paintball and some other ROs use like 4 stats while we can 3. So my question is, will there be more added?
That's a great question. So kind of zooming out super high level, something that we want to do is get a lot more stuff working with CV2. So you all can be using a singular system, right? You don't have to use both CV1 and CV2 at the same time. Like, we want to get more stuff in, so they're using CV2, and hopefully that means you're going to get some, not like ease of use improvements, but also some performance improvements eventually. So we're trying to move somewhat quickly and port old CV1 stuff to CV2 at mostly a parity level. That being said, leaderboards is interesting because we think that it's something that again, kind of lets you dip your toes into this concept of persistence. So what we were talking about a little bit before with the cloud variables and leaderboards combined together, like that starts letting you play around with this concept of persistence a little bit more. And it'd be interesting to hear like how much more do you need from leaderboards to do what you want? Because we think that there's probably a third system that's going to be involved in doing more interesting long-term persistent stuff. So we weren't planning on doing a bunch of changes to the lead. So what do you think you need to do what you want to do with Leaderboards V2?
Well, so I've also had another idea, another question. This has been requested for like a long time, because when we use leaderboard stats, sometimes we scrap ideas when the game is published, and people have been using those stats, and so we want to clear that to be able to use it again, but then we can't because that's not sure, and we have to make it so every player that's joined before joined back, so their stat is cleared and we can use it again. So will there be more features added to leaderboards to be able to customize it more and clear stats and stuff like that?
Right now, I don't... Oh, sorry, go for it.
So I don't know that we have a great solution or are thinking of one, but if this is a problem, one thing you could consider is pairing a cloud variable. So like if you have a leaderboard version cloud variable, the player comes in, that version is 0, then you want to clear the leaderboard one day, you could like have some check that's like, if the value isn't 1, clear out all the leaderboard stats. I don't know if I'm making a ton of sense. I think you might be able to get what you want by using cloud variables before you have to wait for us to deliver something. Does that make sense?
Yep. Just so you know, we
All
have
right,
10
cool. So we're
minutes
gonna
left.
go. Great. So we're gonna go to
Thanks,
Yost,
Marisa.
and then we'll check back in with YouTube. So if you're on the stream, go ahead and put your questions in on YouTube.
All right, sweet. So I have two questions. Now the first one is something a little bit more advanced, long-term sort of thing, but I sort of want to get it out of the way. I know a lot of the creators out there, especially CV2 creators, are able to code. What sort of features can we expect for transmitting data from Rec Room to another service, or even from another service into Rec Room? I know people have suggested something in the form of API or web hooks. How realistic would it be to expect those sorts of features in the near future? I know it's something a lot of people want to get their hands on.
Yeah, I can speak to this a little bit. So I would say that is still a pretty thing, and it's not because we don't think it's really interesting, but once you kind of crack open the shell of allowing external applications to talk to your application, there's just a ton of things potentially go wrong. So we really have to think through doing this in the super right way. An API though is probably, sorry if my mic is echoing here, by the way. We do have to think up a robust solution to this. I'm actually probably the person to talk to. We have another team member that's not here today that will be at the next creator Q&A that might be able to speak to this a little bit better. But we are really excited about it. Like, it's something that we've talked about cool ideas and how some other fairly games or even immersive experiences like Rec Room, but just other applications have done a good job with this. But it is a big deal, and I think if we do it, we will try and do it in a way that is that is going to be for the players and for Rec Room, and then whatever kind of external applications we end up interfacing with.
Yeah, I know because I'm part of the I'm the founder of the Rec Room Racing League. I shouldn't say this, but at this point I don't care. We've built our own system where we can transmit about 2 bytes a second from Rec Room to from Rec Room in the form of webhooks. I'm not going to say how. Nothing shady or anything. But yeah, having like some sort of webhook feature would be absolutely amazing. For stuff like stream overlays and stuff, which updates over time, especially for a league. It's very professional system that we're working with, and something we're really proud of. But it has been an absolute hassle to build up, and for you guys to build that for us would be absolutely amazing.
Cool, that's awesome. We should talk in the future in more detail about this. And again, I'm actually just not the right person to really go deep here, but it is a very interesting idea. And yeah, we'll set up some time to set time in another future Q&A to go over that area and kind of learn more about what your needs are.
All right, we've got about 5 more minutes. So, Trunks, do we have any more YouTube questions?
Yeah, we got a couple. All right. So the first one comes from Squiddy VR again. He wants to know, will we ever be able to create our own room consumables, much like our own room currencies?
Oh, that's a great question. So I think that right now, at least, we think of room consumables as like a system that you could probably build out with CV2 and shapes and all that stuff. I don't think we have it super planned as like a in-house solution. I don't know if that's like difficult or hard to do just using kind of our general tools right now. And if it is, I'd love to know why that is difficult.
Well, on a personal note, I'll say because trigger volumes can't distinguish between the head and the hand, so when you grab something that might be consumed by the head, it instantly gets consumed by the hand. With that, some CV2 could certainly sort that out with. But our next question is from Vinny
Cool.
Super. They want to know what about terraforming? What happened to the terrain tool that we were hearing about?
Oh, that's a great question. So that is another thing that it's not on this list, but we want to get to that in the medium term. One thing that we're trying to think about is keeping that a little bit more generic than just a terrain tool. Like, enabling the creation of better terrain would certainly be one aspect of that tool, but it's not necessarily just a terrain tool.
Okay, and someone's got one more question that just popped up. Riddler on Rec wants to know, what are the plans for the screen share in the future? As it's now mainly audio-based and runs about 2 frames a second.
Yeah, right. This thing's super fast. This is running at 120 frames per second. PowerPoint slide. Just kidding. Yeah. So honestly, not something that our team's working on, so I can't really speak to it. But obviously, at a company level, we of course would love the screen share to be more performant. But I can't give any great answers today on any timelines for that.
Fair enough. Thank you so much, Grumpo, for those answers.
All right, we probably have time for one more question or 2 more. Is there anybody who hasn't asked a question yet? No. Val, do you have your hand up? All right. Val?
I had to plug my mic in. Okay, so this has reminded me of something. You guys have talked about Holotary V2, and you've said like we can have multiple saves of Holotary animations on a single one, right? But one thing I haven't seen mentioned at all by any questions regarding it, and it really annoys me. Can we have the ability to get someone's player ID, put that into the Holotary, and then it equips that person's avatar to our animations we set up with the Holotary? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, Val, let me see if I heard you right. So you want to basically do a holotar animation of however, like anyone can do the animation, and then you connect the player ID so it looks like that other player.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is a great question. I don't know. We have been thinking about what kind of the next steps are with the holotar system, and like, you know, there's also some ideas around item equipping and stuff. Some of the challenges that we're facing, honestly, is just like, hey, if we the system to be dynamic and it can, you know, bring in other content like it, you know, or costumes or anything like that, there are some performance implications there. Like there's ink stuff going on. There's you know, maybe, hey, does it need to download data in time from some other source if you can dynamically change that on the fly? So there's implications there that we need to think through, but we certainly want to improve the holotar system. So I know that's not a very specific answer for you, but that is an interesting thing that you've mentioned, and we do want to continue separating out the data of something from the player of that thing, and so that would fall into that category.
Okay, what's also the time for Sampler V2 to come out? Because there's a lot of sound effects you can do with it.
Yeah, that is a great question. That one's pretty near term. So since it's on this, like, basically on this list in front of you here, like, I'm not going to give you like specific dates, but this stuff is all happening pretty soon. I'm not going to say even like end of the year or anything, but kind of in that time frame.
Okay.
Soon TM, as Odzilla said. That's time,
so
I guess.
1:30. Yeah, I think we're done.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining, and just go ahead and leave your questions in the comments below and we'll get to them. But remember, be creative and give it your Rec Room best. And there is a Maker Pin class today, so Trunks will see you at the Maker Pin class. I'll see you guys and have a good one.
Thanks everyone for coming.
Bye.